Hi, I'm Longbird and I'm going to show you how to make this shearable loom band sheep. At the moment he's big and warm and fluffy and woolly, but if we just unhook the front legs here and pop him out of the fleece, he's a little spring lamb. The fleece you can make in any colour or combination of colours you like, so you can make different outfits for your sheep if you want. I made this red, white and blue one like the French flag, and I put it on my giraffe, and now he looks just like a llama. To make your sheep you need 70 black bands, 41 white, 2 of whatever colour you want to make his eyes, and for the fleece 136 bands. These can be any colour. I'm using white and a mix of pastel pinks to make a polka dot sheep. Now the loom, this is how we set it up for making the sheep, with a V shape at the arrow end. And for the fleece, remove the middle row of the loom to leave just these 6 pins with a big space in between. We're going to start by making the ears and the legs. Each ear is made of 3 black bands and the legs are made of 8. They're both made in exactly the same way. So an ear first, 3 bands. Take the first one, wrap it around your fingers so it's doubled, and stretch it across 2 pins. Same for the second band. The third band's going to be the cap that holds it together. This one you wrap around the pin 4 times. That's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now you loop them using your hook. You want to grab the bottom bands through the middle of the pin, through the cap band, pull them up through, stretch them out a wee bit, and fold them back over themselves onto the pin. Exactly the same for the next one. Now remove the ear from the loom by putting this spare hook through, gently pulling and stretching it off. Now the legs, each one takes 8 black bands and is made in exactly the same way as the ears. You wrap around each band twice, stretch it across 2 pins, and do this 7 times. And the 8th band is a cap, just wrap that 4 times around the pin. And then use your hook to loop it in just the same way as the ear. Next we're going to make the sheep's eyes. You can see there's the colour band in the middle and white wrapped around either side. This is all made on the hook, all in one go. Take the first colour band and wrap it around 4 times. Then a single white band you wrap around twice to one side of the colour and twice on the other side. And push it all together. Exactly the same for the second eye. Now you can see how it works. You can see how it crosses over on the back of the hook as well. You transfer all of this onto a single black band, and you want to do this quite carefully so you don't get the colours out of order. Now we make the sheep's head and body. Remember to set up the loom with a V shape at the arrow end. All the way through here we're using 2 bands at a time to give the body a bit more bulk. press the bands down here just to make space for the neck, which is going to be 3 bands, and then the rest of the body is 2 bands at a time, same as the head. That's the body finished around those 13 pins. Next is the tail. We just need 6 more bands to finish this. We're just taking 1 band at a time for the tail and wrapping it round twice, same as you did for the ears and the legs. Did you know that most sheep are born with long tails and they get them docked when they're just babies? I think that's sad. And finish the tail with a cap band again, wrap it around 4 times. Next we need to put some bracing bands across the body, otherwise it would just be 3 separate strands. So take 1 band, wrap it around twice, stretch it across these 3 pins into a triangle shape. And we'll do another one nearer the shoulders. And 1 in the head. Now we add the legs. I find it's easiest if you pull the leg along all the way to the hook, and then you can use your fingers in the hook to stretch out the opening and pop it on the pin. Now add the eyes. So we stretch them across those 2 pins, then grab the band in between the eyes and stretch it up over the middle pin in the middle of the head. Now add the ears on the top corners, same way as the legs. Now if your sheep looks just like this, then we're ready to start looping. I like to turn the loom around the other way, that's just how I find it most comfortable. Once we get up to the sheep's bum here, we've got 3 pairs of bands joining together on the central pin, and we need to loop them back off that pin in the reverse order to how they got onto it. So it was the band near the top of the screen that was the last one to go on, so that's the first one you loop off. Then it was the one at the bottom, then the one in the middle. So each time you're taking the 2 bands that are closest to the top of the pin and looping them back in the direction they came from. And this is how you make sure these 3 pairs of bands don't get tangled up. There we go. Remember that step because it's going to happen twice more once we get up to the head and the snout of the sheep. Whenever you reach a pin like this one, which has got a bracing band around it, make sure you go inside the bracing band and loop through it. Don't get it tangled up in the other bands. Also, you can see the bands are getting a bit tight there, so if you need to release tension, just run the hook between the bands and the pin and it should pop out nicely. Just release some tension there again. Now we've come up to the neck. Remember, this was made from 3 bands, not just 2, so make sure you grab all 3. Now all the white bands in the body should look like this, with a kind of pointy balloon teardrop kind of shape. There's my hair. At the bottom of the head here we've got 3 pairs of bands coming together on 1 pin, same as at the bum. So you need to go through and grab the ones that are closest to the top and fold them back in the same direction they came from. It can be a bit tricky squeezing it between the eyes here, just make sure you don't get the eyes tangled up. Yeah. Now once we've looped those 3 pairs of bands we stop, because we need to build the snout of the sheep onto the front of the head before doing any more looping. So press down on all these pins to make some space to build on the extra parts. And this is what we're adding now, just the front part of the sheep's face. Okay, we're taking 2 bands at a time again, starting with the pin between the eyes. Now we need a cap band, but we're going to do it slightly differently from before. Just going to wrap it 3 times around the fingers and then stretch it from the bottom of the face down to the next pin. This makes it a bit easier to loop back those 3 pairs. Now just unhook the cap band just so it's not so tight. I just need to tidy that up a bit. Okay. And these next 3 pins are a bit tricky because you have to go down through lots and lots of other bands to find the 2 at the very bottom. So just take it slow. And gentle. And release the tension if you need to. This is quite tricky because I want to hold the loom up closer to my eyes so I can see what I'm doing, but then you wouldn't be able to see. So I think I will get my extra hook and use that to stretch out the bands to make a bit more space to get my main hook in to just grab the 2 loops at the bottom. And this is something you can do at any point if it makes it easier. There we go. Now the last 2 loops just come up through the ears to the middle of the head. Now hopefully your loom looks pretty much like this. Just want to release the tension on that one. Didn't notice it before. Just checking that I've got everything all the way up. Now finally we're going to tie off the top of the head using one black band through all those loops at the top. Just do a little slip knot in the band. And pull that tight, but not too tight obviously, you don't want it to snap. Now finally we can remove the sheep from the loom. Just gently remove all the loops from each pin. I'll get my crochet hook in here again. That's got a flat end with no hook on it, which makes it really useful for pulling the loops off without getting them caught up. Now once we get down to the body, you should be able to just pull it off by waggling it side to side. And the last little bit. And there's our little lamb. Alright, he looks a bit funny at the moment, his legs are kind of splayed out, but if you just give him a bit of a pull, a bit more than I'm doing here, you'll get them going in the right direction, and his tail too. Most importantly though, we need to sort out his eyes, which have kind of disappeared into the back of his head. Just push them through and twist them round a bit. Just make them a bit more even. You can use the hook to help with that as well, just to dig out any bands that are stuck behind. And then one more little trick, the band on the top of his head, you can either use that to attach him to something like his little charm, or just wrap it around his head so it disappears there. Now it's time to make the fleece. I'll just show you again how that comes off. I'll show you how to put it on at the very end. So it's sort of a bell shape with an opening at one end and it's a bit tighter at the other end. It's made up of blobs, that's what I've decided to call them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rows. You stretch it out, you can sort of see the rings that make it up. And we set up the loom, as I said before, with these 6 pins with a space in between. These are what the blobs look like. Need to make 34 of these. Each one is 3 bands wrapped 3 times around the hook. And then transferred onto a single band. Now I've decided to make a polka dot sheep, so I'm making 16 of the blobs out of pink and purple and yellow bands. Now for the first of the 6 rows that are going to make up the fleece, we're using 5 blobs, putting them in a ring around 5 pins. I'm just alternating the colours to make the polka dots. The next row is going to be 6 blobs across 6 pins, so we just need to stretch out one set from this row so that we've got 5 blobs covering 6 pins. Now the second row is made up of 6 blobs, again alternating the colours and covering all 6 pins. Now we've got 2 rows on, we use the hook to lift off the bottom 2 loops on each pin. So you're lifting it over the ones above, into the middle. Rows 3, 4 and 5 also take 6 blobs each over 6 pins. I'm just speeding up the video through here. This is row 4. Each time you've got 2 rows on, you lift off the one underneath. In row 5, another 6 blobs. Now just slow it down again here, because before going on to row 6, which is only 5 blobs, you need to split the 2 bands off the 6th pin. So check which way it's coming from. That was the band coming from this pin, take it across to there, and the other one the other way. That takes you back down to 5 pins. And so row 6 is 5 blobs. Now once this row is complete, you lift off the bottom loops again. For the 2 pins on either side of the 6th pin, you lift off the bottom 3, just leaving the top 2 loops. And the others, it's the bottom 2 as before. Now it should look like this. It'll be coming out of the bottom of the loom, quite bulky. And we just need to finish it off. So we're going to lift off from the pin opposite the 6th one, both bands, and put them on the one next to it. Same on the other side. I'm just going to turn it around for some looping, and we go through the middle of the pin and we loop out the bottom 2 onto this final pin. Same for the other. And we can release these. And finish it off with a single band through all of these loops and tie a slip knot in it. Now we use the hook to carefully remove it from the loom. And there's the fleece. It comes off inside out, but you can see the bell shape already. It's quite closed at this end and open at the other end. There's a few slightly looser blobs at the top. Those are what you're going to hook over the sheep's legs. If you flip it the right way around, you can see how it looks all woolly. And to put it on the sheep, you flip it inside out, push your fingers into the open end and out through the narrower end. And you grab onto your lamb, take hold of his back legs and tail, and flip the fleece back around the right way and over his body, pulling the legs and tail through. Then you grab 2 of the looser blobs from the front row and tuck them over his front legs. And there he is, one sweet little polka dot shearable sheep. I hope you enjoy making yours. Thank you for watching. Now I'm going to make some more fleeces, a black and yellow stripy